A week of great current affairs engaging national discourse from the FGM debate to the exciting race for the US Senate 2024. Here is a look at what's coming up on the final take with me, Seni Marina. Is upholding the ban on the controversial FGM bill a victory for women in the Gambia? And what this moment's a crucial period to debate women's empowerment? We get answers from women rights activist Fatou Balde. Also on the final take, Decision 2024, we spotlight the United States Senate elections and journey of Democratic Senate aspirant and Wisconsin lawmaker Samba Balde. That's the final take with me, Seni MK Marina, taking a deep dive into a weeks of news and current affairs around the world. Thanks for joining us on this latest episode.
Every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.
Welcome back to the Welcome back for those joining us to me, Seni MK Marina, live from our studios here in Seattle. Now, women in the Gambia are celebrating what looked to be a major legislative breakthrough as a parliamentary report recommends the upholding of the ban on female genital mutilation. The Women Amendment Bill that sought to overturn the ban on FGM made law by the country's previous government sparked a massive conversation with women advocates voicing strong opposition against the bill that has through several processes as it continues its journey to repeal the law that prevents and prohibits the cutting of young girls. As the National Assembly convenes its second ordinary session, controversial FGM bill returned to the spotlight with a legislative committee delivering advice that could earn women a crucial win. But is the upholding of this ban a victory for women? Let's bring in women rights activist Fatou Balde, who is joining us live from Banjul to talk about this very important bill. Welcome to the show, Fatou. Many thanks for joining us and give us a picture of the important Gambian women attached to this current debate to unban FGM and how much of a victory is a legislative breakthrough, especially for young girls in the Gambia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Seni, for having me. I think this is a discussion that, Gambians, not just at home, but abroad in the diaspora, as well as the international community, all need to be aware of. So I'm really glad that you're bringing the issue on here. So for us, since this whole debate started, we've said that we know that this fight to repeal the law, it's not just about female genital mutilation or circumcision. We see this as an attack on the progress made towards the advancements of women and girls' rights in the Gambia. Female genital mutilation or cutting or circumcision has been identified globally as a form of gender-based violence, as a form of violence against women and girls that has a lot of impact on the health, both physical and mental health of women and girls. So for us, we see that we have a big battle, because if we lose this battle, other gains that we have achieved already towards the advancement of women and girls in this country also risk being attacked. That's why it is so important for us to maintain this law, but also to advocate for the law to be implemented as well.
Fatu, you have always advocated for the protection of women and their empowerment of young girls. How do narrative like this controversial FGM bill threaten the efforts and women's quest for equality?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, of course, as I said, for me and many people who are against the practice of FGM, we see female genital mutilation and cutting as a form of violence against women and also a manifestation of the low status of women and girls in the country. Surprisingly, the narrative out there is that it's Gambian women who are asking for this ban to be lifted. Unfortunately, or fortunately, that is not the reality. Over the past few weeks, our team have been going around, and I know a lot of grassroots and CSO organizations that have been engaging communities. And the reality is, on the ground, women are saying they want this law to remain. They know the significance of this law, how it can protect their girls and future generations from this harmful traditional practice. But on the positive side, I think this whole debate and discourse has really forced Gambian society to really talk about the issue of female genital mutilation. It has opened door for dialogue among communities, among policymakers, in our households. And I think to end FGM, it is very important that we break the culture of silence around the practice. We've seen men who have been known not to really get involved in this conversation coming up and speaking about FGM, whether they support it or not. The fact that people are speaking about the practice, it's progressive, and we see light at the end of the tunnel.
Fatu, many Gambians believe that FGM is a traditional practice and it has also some religious connotations. And this has made this law very controversial. It has created a lot of debate across the country. Do you think that FGM has anything to do with religion? Do you think the religion side overweigh the health implications of this, or the health implication overweigh the religious side of the FGM law?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Of course, and I think that's why fighting against female genital mutilation in the Gambia is very difficult because of the complexity. Some people believe it is religious, some people believe it is tradition. Can I just point out that at the community level, when you speak to most people, the justification they are giving is culture and tradition, actually not religion. What we are seeing is the few men who have access to spaces, yeah, the men who are in power, who have access to media, to spaces, are using that to make people believe that the misconception that FGM is a religious obligation. Now, we all know that FGM predates Islam. We all know that FGM is practiced by other religious groups too, for example Christians and other groups. So FGM is not just about linked to Islam. And for me personally, my argument is this: a subject as controversial as FGM, female genital mutilation, circumcision, cutting, if this was allowed in Islam, we would have had an indication of it. There wouldn't have been such controversy. But also for me, even for argument's sake, if I am to believe that Islam supports FGM, or as the pro-FGM would bring it, Islam also tells us that if something harms people, if it's been proven to harm people, we should do away with it. For example, fasting is compulsory. But we all know that if you were fasting and a doctor told you that fasting can affect you, you do away from it. But most importantly for me, in terms of religion, I believe that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was the exemplary, the strongest of sunnahs, are his things that he did or advocated for. And for me, I believe that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a lover of women. He had empathy for women. He supported women's rights and protection. If he had practiced female genital mutilation or cutting among his daughters or his wives, there would have been an indication of that. And so for me, unless someone shows me that, I will not even engage in that argument of religion
So
or
far,
not.
you are saying that, like, from the Islamic or religious perspective, FGM is not sourced from an authentic hadith, because hadith is the teaching and the saying of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So you want to say there is no authentic hadith that accept FGM, right?
No, not in those words. I
Yeah.
don't know hadiths, and I can't comment on that. But
Right.
what I can comment on is that I believe if FGM was as a sunnah as they are making it seem, we
Yeah.
would have records. Aisha radiallah has narrated many hadiths on sensitive subjects including periods, many sensitive subjects. I believe if FGM was something that was practiced within the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's immediate family or any of his sahabas, this would have been reported back. And I haven't seen that. And for me, because of that, I do not go into the conversation of religion. But most importantly, as I said, if Islam itself says, even if it accepted something, if it's been proven to cause harm, which FGM has been, or circumcision or mutilation, whichever term they decide to use, it has been proven it causes harm to women and girls. So just that makes it that makes it unacceptable in Islam.
Absolutely. Fatu, we have seen a lot of prominent religious leaders, taking sermons about this FGM, saying it's part of the religion and they will do everything to practice it. Do you think this is fair to the FGM law in the country? Because FGM have been banned in the country since the time of the former president, but we have seen prominent Islamic scholars coming out and challenging that law, saying they are going to cut girl child. Do you think that's a disrespect to the law of the land?
I think it's quite unfortunate, and I think it's really sad that these people are using their platforms, their audience, and their influence to promote towards violence against women and girls, because that's what they are doing. They're using their platforms and influence to promote for girls' genitals to be cut. And I also believe that we have so many issues that these religious leaders can be talking about, so many things that are affecting this community, our country, which they have not been speaking on. But even to add on that, where were all these religious leaders when this FGM was banned in 2015? Is it that all of a sudden their faith has become so much strong that they want to talk about it now? Where were they? Where were they? Why are they coming up now with all these speculations? I think that they are using the women's bodies and girls' bodies because they know that FGM is a something that many people in our community still accept and want to continue to practice, and they're using that to gain power for relevance, because you would see that people who are driving this, they have not really been relevant in our society over the past couple of years. And now they are here looking for relevance, and they are using the bodies of women and girls to seek that relevance.
Fatu, some of you prominent women rights activists have been accused of being bankrolled by Western government to bring in this issue of FGM into our discussion. Tell us, are you being bankrolled to fight against this FGM in the Gambia?
Okay. Now I would like to know what the definition of bank goal is. But if it means we are influenced by
The
donor
Western
funding,
countries, yes, yeah.
yes, we are influenced. Which, Seni, what I don't understand, why is this question not directed at other organizations or in other individuals that are advocating for other rights? You will often find that this kind of narrative are always put on women and human rights defenders because they want to silence us. Yeah, I know for a fact, Seni, you've gone through my profile.
Yes.
Yeah, I hold a master's degree. I hold a bachelor's degree. I am currently doing my
Your PhD.
PhD.
Right.
I could take any job I want. I could get a salary. I can get a job that can support my family and anything. And I know so many of the girls, the women who are also in the same line as me, who have their qualifications and their experiences. Yes, For me, and personally, I'll make this very clear, I am not volunteering. I am not volunteering. I am, and when people describe us as activists, you may call us that, but I am a professional and I expect to be paid for the work that I do. My advocacy against female genital mutilation does not mean I shouldn't be getting paid. If I don't get paid, how am I supposed to sustain myself? Of course, I expect to be paid, just like the people who are accusing us of this. How about the MPs who are accusing us of this, or the community members? Where do they get their money from? Our government, doesn't our government get donor funding to support us? Doesn't our government get donor funding for our everyday living in our country? We are heavily dependent on donor funding as a country. So why should that be separated from for women's rights advocates, or women who are seen as leading civil society organizations? Why should we not be supported? The reality is, and the fact is that we are African women. I am a Gambian woman. I am a survivor of female genital mutilation or circumcision or whatever they call it. I chose to say that FGMC is wrong and it's harmful, and I am going to advocate against that practice. And I will continue.
Are you bothered by this accusation? Because it's very tough sometimes getting attacks left and right just because of the advocacy you are doing in terms of protecting young girls and empowering them. Is this in any way bother your advocacy?
The accusation of being influenced by Western ideologies and that, I totally do not even blink over those, because I know it's a way to try to make me feel uncomfortable and to silence me and other women who are doing this work. So for me, that doesn't even move me. However, we continue to receive threats. We continue to receive violence. We continue to see that even within our media in the country, where platforms are being given to pro-FGM advocates, where we are seen as activists and we get called names, and we are not given platforms to talk. We've seen recently how a woman, since this whole FGM debate started, we were told that by MPs, by religious leaders, that they don't want evidence outside of the Gambia. They wanted Gambian women to come out and speak. And Gambian women have come out and spoken about how FGM has affected us. They expected that because of the culture of silence and the patriarchal system, Gambian women were going to be silent so that some few men can stand at parliament and repeal a law, a progressive law. Now that we have spoken, we've seen how they have gone and brought in a foreigner, someone who is non-Gambian, someone who will never know what it feels like to be a Gambian woman. She's a privileged woman from a privileged background. She can never know the lived experiences of Gambian women. So, but our Gambian men are willing to listen to that person and not Gambian women. And I've seen our media as well giving her platform and amplifying the myths and misconceptions that she continues to spread.
Thank you, Fatu. Those listening to us, this is the final take with me, Seni MK Marena. In the studio is Fatu Balde, the founder and CEO of Women in Liberation Movement. Fatu, going forward, did this debate also shine light on the need to boost women representation in the National Assembly, where women forms a mere 9% in a massive underrepresentation of the country's biggest demographic? Are women being supported to enter politics and engage in decision making? Because I believe one of your area is to support women representation.
Absolutely. I think if anything that has been proven since this whole discourse has started is the need to have more women in decision-making positions, is to have more women at the National Assembly. And when I say women, I mean women who are capable of leading. We need the right women in that house. When we do that, not just women are going to benefit, this whole country is going to benefit. Since independence, we have had men occupying that space. I think it is time for us to shift and bring more women in leadership positions. After all, over 51% of our Gambian population are women. 58% of registered voters in this country from our last elections are women. We really need to see more women coming forward. We need to encourage more women. Although we realize the challenges in doing that, the same socio-cultural norms and practices and influences that we are seeing now that are the main drivers of the threat towards this law are the same threats that are preventing women from taking up leadership positions or contesting for elections. And we hope to work on these issues before the next elections, especially the parliamentary and local elections, so that we prepare more women who are ready. And I would use this opportunity also to encourage the different political parties to make sure that when they're selecting or nominating their candidates, to make sure that they respect the women that are within their parties and take up more women and bring more women forward so that we will be able to change this country for the good.
So Fatu, you are a founder of a civil society organization, as I earlier mentioned, that is the Women in Liberation and Leadership, working to empower young girls and women. What's your message to Gambian lawmakers in regards to women's protection and representative? Are we talking about the biggest population demographic again?
So for me, presently, Seni, the Gambia is being celebrated globally as a country that has transitioned from an authoritarian rule, a country that is being celebrated for successfully ousting a dictator, one of the most brutal dictators of this country. We've successfully taken him out peacefully. We have initiated a transitional justice process that is looking at ways to rebuild our human rights and rule of law. As a country, we are going out and holding other countries accountable for human rights violations. And women's rights are human rights. You cannot be celebrated for building human rights, yet you want to hold back the majority of your country because you, the men, are in a position of power. I think that will be really, really embarrassing for us as a country. It will make us look very bad as we are being celebrated as a country that is rebuilding human rights. So we really need to work on that. But most importantly, by taking back this very progressive law, you are not only exposing girls and putting them at risk, but I just want to stress also that the Gambia is not an island. We are members of the international community. We have signed international treaties like the CEDAW, the CRC. We are also members of the African Union, and we have signed the Mobutu Protocol. All these legislations prohibit female genital mutilation. So not just the law, the national law that we have signed international treaties that are supposed to prevent the practice of female genital mutilation and cutting. So we cannot already have this progressive law and take it back. I just came up of another session, and a lady from Liberia, an activist, a women's rights advocate, who shared with me that they are very anxious because as a country, they are fighting hard to have a law. And they fear that if we take away this law, countries like Liberia and Sierra Leone, who are fighting to have a law, that will not happen. I also know that a lot of people in the diaspora listen to you, Seni, and I just want to stress this, the consequences on families. If you live in the diaspora, people in the UK have already started facing these challenges. If you have a daughter and you try to come on holidays in the Gambia, the authorities are going to question you. You will start getting in trouble every time you come to the Gambia and you return home. So this is not just an issue back home. The diaspora needs to care as well, because the consequences will also reach you very hard, especially if you have a daughter.
Fatu, thank you very much. Before I let you go, all eyes will be back in the parliament, and I could see the excitement in you and many other women rights activists. Moments the committee recommend that the FGM laws should be upheld. Are you hopeful that victory is on its way for women and girls in the country, so that this FGM law can stay as a law in the country? Are you hopeful that the next deliberation will be a victory for you and other women rights activists?
Seni, just before I say that, I sadly cannot say this is a victory because a damage has already been done. There are WhatsApp audios, there are information that have already been spread, misconceptions that have taken away the work of decades in advocating against this practice. A lot of harm has already been done. For us, whether this bill is maintained or not, we know that the harm has been done and we really need to go back to our communities. I want to take this opportunity to thank the committee because I know under very difficult circumstances, they've been attacked, they've been threatened, and they did the right thing. So I want to say congratulations to them. We are very optimistic. We know, we have confidence that our parliament are going to do the right thing. They are going to vote to maintain this law on Monday. And once that is done, we will continue to pick up the pieces and we will make sure that that FGM is ended in this country. We will make sure that women and girls are empowered to the extent that we don't need religious leaders or men at the National Assembly standing up and saying that that girls should go through these harmful traditional practices to make them women. So we hope to do some more work on that. Thank you.
Okay. Fatu, you were also honored as a member of the Order of the British Empire, MBE, for your outstanding service to migrant women in Scotland in 2020. Let's discuss FGM and its impact on migrant communities, especially those in the Gambia. How would a repeal particularly affect them?
Yeah. So as I was saying earlier, we know that in most countries in the West, in Europe and America, they have policies, they have protocols, especially if you are a woman living in these countries intending to travel to countries where FGM is practiced. The families who would be listening to this, they know. For many years when I lived in the UK, a lot of my work was on supporting women and girls living in the UK, in Scotland in particular, who are from migrant communities. And some of the issues that I worked on was issues around female genital mutilation, support services, but also the struggles that women face. Some women would come and say that they fear that if they return to the Gambia, that their daughters will be cut. And that is the reality. That is the truth. Just few months ago, a lady came up to us and her daughter was snatched. Her daughter was taken without her consent and cut. And we know that that is very normalized within Gambian society, where an aunt or a grandparent can take a child. And this puts a lot of women in migrant, a lot of women in Western countries or outside of the Gambia. We know that their children would be at risk if they were to visit home. We know that their daughters will be at risk when they visit home on holidays. So we are worried about it, and that's why I want this information and this threat to the law, for people to see it as not just for Gambian women, but for women everywhere.
Thank you so much, women rights advocate and award-winning activist Fatu Balde, speaking to me from Banjul through his efforts and his organization to stop the journey of the controversial FGM bill. Many thanks for your time, Fatu. We'll take a little break, and next guest is Samba Balde, a Wisconsin state representative, who will be joining us to discuss about his political pathway. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back shortly. Thank you and stay tuned.
Take with MK Mariner every Saturday on the Alcamba Times and experience extensive conversations on a variety of topics, including national and international headlines, breaking issues, and major developments in politics, business, innovation, science, and sports, along with inspiring stories and expert analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the news.
Hello and warm welcome to the final take with me, Seni MK Marina, discussing the latest news around the town. We'll be joined shortly by Mr. Samba Balde, who is a state representative in the Wisconsin State Assembly in Madison. Samba will join us shortly. Hello and warm welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Marina.
Hello. Finally, we have our second guest in the studio today, Mr. Honorable Samba Balde, who is a state representative in the state assembly in Wisconsin, in Madison, Wisconsin. Thank you for joining us, Honorable Samba Balde. In Gambia, they call it honorable, but in the US, they call it representative. It's all interchangeable, right?
Yes, exactly. But Samba is good too.
Oh no, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome back. Now a total of 468 seats in the US Congress, covering 33 Senate seats, and all 435 House seats are up for election on November 5th, 2024. And they will include the race for Wisconsin State Senate seat, which has been contested by State Assembly member Honorable Samba Balde, who was first elected to the Wisconsin State Assembly in 2020, represent the far east side of the city of Madison, including the neighborhood he served at the District 17. From his first election to the public office in 2015, he went on to serve 3 terms on Madison Common Council, where his colleague elected him council vice president and then president. On the Common Council, his initiative and involvement led to Madison's first sister city on African continent, with the Gambia's largest municipality, Kanifing Municipal Council. Representative Balde has a long history of public service that goes back to Gambia, where he was born and grew in a small rural community of Choya village. He devoted himself to pursuing education, civil advocacy, and working on creating opportunities for youth and human rights. Many thanks for joining us, Honorable Ba. Now, decision 2024 is barely 4 months away, and Republicans racing to occupy the United States Senate and Congress. What's your campaign promise, Mr. Balde?
Yep. So thank you, Mr. Marina, for having me. It's really indeed it's a pleasure to join you and have this conversation. Like you said, elections are upon us, and the democratic process is the best system that we have out there for a representative government. So here in Madison, Wisconsin, like you stated, I've been serving at the assembly now for about 4 years. This is my second term, and I'm running for Senate District 16. The general elections are in November, but in my race, it's only Democrats, so we are running against each other. The 3 of us are on a primary race that is scheduled for election in August, just about 4 weeks, August 13th. So that is where things are at. So August 13th is very important for voters in Senate District 16. There's no Republican, and so make sure your voice is heard. You are able to vote. If you are not going to be in town or not be able to vote in person, absentee ballots voting has started, so you can request a ballot now, and then they'll send you a ballot so you can return it. At the end of this month is when in-person absentee will begin, so you can go to polling stations across the district and vote in person. So after that, then is actual the voting day, and so that is where we are in terms of the layout of the elections.
Honorable Samba, you have already started canvassing votes among your Democratic colleagues in Wisconsin. I have seen a lot of photos here moving from one corner to another. How is your campaign faring up?
Yeah, so the campaign is going pretty good. Initially our main focus after getting on the ballot was to, raise funds. As you may know, American campaign politics is very expensive in this country. And so, but it's a representative government. What that means is that all of us cannot be at the city, county buildings, or at the municipal buildings, or at the state capitals. So we have to send people to represent us. So that process can be tedious. So what we were doing was fundraise to make sure that we can do everything possible to reach out to our voters. And so we are wrapping up that chapter. But if there are people who are not able to donate, they can still donate to the campaign. So we are now in the phase of reaching out to people. So what that means is that we are doing door to door. So go to people's doors, knock at their doors, introduce ourselves. I'm Sambo, running for Senate District 16, asking for their vote, and tell them a little bit about myself and give them literature. That's one way we do it, and that's what we've been doing. The other thing is to mail out to people. So the district is over 115,000 voters. So I cannot go to every door. My volunteers cannot go to every door. So what we do is mail out to them. So we have about 5 mailing scheduled to go out now against August 13th. So we can tell people who Samba is, what Samba stands for, and what Samba has been doing over the years, and what he intends to do if he's given the opportunity to serve at the Senate. So that is where we are. And so we are working very hard, volunteers. I just came out from a small town outside of the city of Madison called Marshall. Knocking doors, but also attending fairs, and things like that. You go where people are at. Last night, I had a group of 4 of my friends who came. Some of them came from Milwaukee to volunteer. So we were in a city called Pittsburgh doing doors and stuff like that. Tonight, we are going to be in Sun Prairie doing doors and talking to people. That's what it takes. Outside of the debates, all the questionnaires that you get from interest group and lobbyist group is to reach out to people and tell them who you are and what you intend to do for them. So that's where we are right now.
Samba, you have an interesting political background. As an immigrant from a small country, the Gambia, you made your way to the state assembly. Now you journeying towards state senate. What inspired you, Samba, to move? You started at the Common Council to the state assembly. Now you are transitioning to state senate elections. What inspired you to move on this journey?
So my big inspiration is service to others. Since back home in the Gambia, I was very active there as a young person who at the time really didn't have a good understanding of the world compass. I mean, what it is mean out there. But I was out there doing my little bitty thing here and there to serve people. I started the kind of Issue Development Society to support young people, train them on skills and entrepreneurial thing, and help them navigate this complex world that myself didn't understand at the time very well. And so I immigrated to the United States, started integrating myself into the American society because I choose to be an American, and therefore I wanted to know the society, understand it, but also be a part of it. And so as part of that process, I volunteer a lot. So I've been a big brother and big, what they call big brother, big sister. So I'm a big brother, and I've been doing that for more than 15 years. Mentoring young people, guiding them through life and all the complexity of life. I volunteer with the AIDS Network. So what that means is that I take people who have HIV and AIDS to doctor's appointment, do laundry for them, groceries and things like that.
Wow.
Habitat for Humanity. So I do it all. My day job, as you may know, is software engineering. But I look at the greater good. For whatever reason, I'm driven by service to others. And so that is what is driving me. So people would ask, but then why didn't you stay at the city council? Or why didn't you stay until staying at the state assembly? Service is important, and therefore the reach also is important. When I was at the city council, I served a district of maybe about 8,000, 10,000. You go to this assembly, you are reaching more people, and more people have access to you. And sometimes immigrants, stay away from politics, particularly in the countries that they immigrated to. That is because sometimes they are not trusting. And so access is important. And that is one reason why I am running for this seat, is to give people access to their government. But beyond that is my qualification. I have been doing this thing for more than a decade now. So I know the American system, I know the American people, I know how to make things happen. And so my qualification, my experience is another reason why I am running. But it is important to have diversity in policy making. Being the first Muslim, the first African American immigrant to ever be elected at the state capital is something huge. Even in the Dane County here, where I live, there has never been an African American male.
Yeah, because I want to. It's predominantly a white neighborhood, and somebody is an immigrant, and then you are a black immigrant from West Africa, the Gambia, and you are representing a neighborhood that is predominantly a white neighborhood.
Yeah, so if I win the Senate seat, I'd be basically the first senator there to represent a predominantly white district. So we have some black senators, but mainly from Milwaukee. But if I win this seat, I will make history by being the first African-American black person to win a predominantly white district at the state. So there are a lot of things that are happening, but I think representation is very important. Yes, I am from the Gambia, Choya village, but I took America to be my home. And so therefore, nobody owns this United States past me. So I'm doing everything to make it a better place and serve the people who I consider my family, my friends, my community, and things like that.
Samba 2024 Spotlight, critical issues from education to security and development partnership. A Democrat posed to meet emerging challenges affecting American communities, because we have seen that both the Democrats and the Republicans are fighting for control, at Senate level, both state and at Congress level. So what are you guys bringing different that Americans should trust you and send you to Senate system?
Yeah, so the world is becoming a global village, and therefore American perspective and understanding of the rest of the world is important. America's connection to the rest of the world is also important. So as an immigrant, that's one perspective that I bring to the American table. So better understand the immigrant community also that is growing in this United States. So that is one thing I think we bring to the table that is uniquely different from what an American politician can bring to the table. But beyond that, this is all our country. And so, the tool that we have for governance and just cultural integration is the democratic process. And so if you want your voice to be heard, your culture to be reflective, or to be reflected in the way of life of the American people or the community you live in, then you got to be at the table. And so that is another driving factor. I want to make sure that I'm the one telling my history. I want to make sure that people understand who I am and where I'm coming from, and the communities that I represent generally and where I am coming from. But also, just as an American, to really make sure that I am at the decision-making table. Like I stated earlier, since I get into this country, I've been very, very active, not only volunteering, but also demonstrating at the downtown, at the capitals, against Act 10, for example. But any things that I disagree with, and there's a possibility to mobilize and organize and coordinate, I've been a part of it. This is my community, and I want to make it a better community. This is my community, and I want to make sure that it's reflective of my values and what I stand for and my worldview. So that is what we are doing here.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Just last week, President Biden was in your neck of wood, and you even had a selfie with him, with a smile. How is this meeting boosting your campaign from primaries to the state election? And do you share any word with President Biden during your encounter? And how proud is he, to meet you?
Right. Yeah. So, obviously it's not every day that you meet a president. So it was a really profoundly important moment for me as an immigrant black person. So I did introduce myself, did tell him what my name was and who I am and what I do. And so he was pleasantly surprised that an immigrant like myself is serving at the state. And so that was a good experience that way. But in terms of, the current politics of, whether he should stay or not stay, I saw a lot of energy in him. And so I hope, everybody can rally around him. But, the American system has a democratic process. At this point, he's the one elected to represent us as a candidate. We still have one more step to go, which is the Congress, which is coming up soon. During that time, he can choose, or even before that, to say, look, I am not going to do this because of all the things that are out there. Not that I cannot do it, but I am just not going to do it, and somebody else will step to the plate. But at this point, from what I saw at the meeting, he does have the energy to do this. I mean, of course, we are all, aging, and we all age differently. So he's aging differently, and so that doesn't mean he has some
my next question is going to be a bit controversial, because that's the debate right now in the US. We have all seen it. There's a divide among Democrats, both at the state legislative chambers and at the Congress, and saying, should Biden still run as a front runner for the Democrats? We are considering his age and stuff. Do you think Biden should be given another mandate to complete his second term?
Yeah, so I think the process should follow. It's a democratic process. It's tedious. It's not always that you hear what you want to hear, and that's the good thing about democracy. It's not dictatorship. People tell you what they feel. They protest. They demonstrate. They attack and do all this kind of stuff. So people are questioning his capability or lack of it is part of the democratic process, and I'm sure he's not angry about it. He rather not be distracted by it. But it's the democratic process. Nobody can do anything about that. So let's see where things end up. Like the next step that we have is the Democratic Convention. If at that convention, again, there's no challenges to his nomination as the candidate, then he will be our candidate. If there are challenges to an extent where he loses that, then, we have a different candidate. And we'll do whatever it takes as Democrats to elect whoever end up being the candidate. At this point, we'll do whatever it is to elect Joe Biden. But one thing is very important, and I think we should shift the conversations to those kind of things. It's a convicted felon, 34 convictions, but we are not talking about that. We are talking about somebody who's aging, and the reality of aging is reflected. Why is that a problem? I mean, we've always elected, people, older people in most democracies, even in Africa. You look at Nigerian president and the current president of Liberia and all that kind of stuff. So, experience is very, very important in life. And I think that's why people generally, lean towards people who are older, because they've been doing the thing for a very long time. Younger people can be very risky. And I think that's the calculation that goes into it. But at this point, Joe Biden is our nominee, and he's the one we are canvassing for. He's the one we are supporting. He's the one we'll be voting for. If anything changed, then we'll go with that. I mean, but it got to go through the democratic process. If Biden chooses not to run anymore, then that is a different thing. Then we see who is out there and who we can pick.
But as of now, the Democrats are rallying behind Biden.
As of now, he's the nominee, and the democratic process, requires that we follow the process.
Many people believe Trump could beat Biden in this race. How so are you looking at their past records?
Yeah, so until the last vote is counted, me and you can never tell. Even polls are going wrong with this stuff. So as it is, it's a tight race, very, very tight. And so it could go either ways. But I believe we can win this. I do not believe the American people will vote a convicted felon 34 times into the White House. I just don't believe that. I have always had the conviction that 50 plus 1% of the American people are very smart, sensible people. So that 50 plus 1% will always prevail. And so that's how we will beat Donald Trump, in my opinion.
Samba, you seems to be very loved in your community. How optimistic are you that you will emerge victorious in this primary race that you are having with two other colleagues for Senate district system?
Yeah, so again, like I just said a minute ago, you never know until when the last vote is counted. But I'm very optimistic that this is a winnable race. And so I am operating under the possibility that we can win this. We have a very strong team, people who are willing to do whatever it takes to reach out to the voters and let them understand exactly where we stand on the things that they care about, what are our policy agendas and things like that. So we are very optimistic that it's a winnable race. But again, you never know until when you get to the end. And so that's how we are approaching this, doing everything possible with the hope or belief that we can win this. But again, until to the end, when I ran for city council, I had a much thicker accent than I have right now. I was more of an African than an American now. I was still, navigating the American system much more complex than it is complex to me now. But I won, and I won only by 32 votes. I never even thought at the time I was going to win. Again, I ran in 2020 for the assembly. I never thought I would win, but I mean, I did think I was going to win when I put my heart in. But the chances were very minimal in my thinking. But I was also lucky to win that four-way race primary. So this one is a three-way race primary. I am hopeful, and I'm doing everything possible to win. You never know, and I don't want to underestimate people by saying I'll win, but the chances are there. So I'm calling on every Gambian, every immigrant, every Wisconsinite, everybody who lives in District 16, who believe in the democratic process, to find a way to participate. Whether or not you vote, whether or not you participate, at the end of the day, whoever wins this seat and win other seats is the one who's going to make decisions on our behalf. So be a part of the process and make sure your voice is heard. August 13 is very, very, very important, particularly in District 16 race. Whoever wins that race is going to be the senator for that district.
Samba, you have always focused on building opportunity for young people along all spectrum. What opportunities does this race offer in extending your work, particularly to create initiative for growth and empowerment in your area?
Yeah, so, in terms of opportunities, and sometimes opportunities don't have barriers. Young people in this country, create employment opportunities, education opportunities, funding education, so that our kids, the American kids, has an opportunity to go to school and get quality education. Those things are important. Providing, helping families to make sure that childcare is affordable. Is one of the most expensive tickets or bill, I should say, in every household now in the United States. Creating opportunities for people to get jobs and be able to succeed. Business owners, if you want to start your own business, create opportunities for such things. Safeguarding the environment. Global warming has no boundaries. What happened in Gambia, you see happen in the United States. What happened in the United States, you see happen in China. It's to make sure that our environment is protected. We address the challenges of global warming. In my own state, PFAS, which are never dying chemicals found in our water, predominantly are now filtering into our farming lands and farmlands and stuff like that. How do we prevent that and mitigate that to make sure that we are eating healthy, we are drinking healthy, we are living healthy? Fair taxes. Democrats generally are accused of wanting to tax a lot of people all the time, increasing taxes. I am for fair taxes. I believe if you work hard, you should pay your fair taxes. But also funding our educational system. I don't think it should come from the local taxes. The federal, the state government should do their part and make sure that schools are funded so our kids can go to school and be well educated. Service to our senior citizens. In many cases, they are on fixed income. Inflation does not know who is on fixed income or who's not. Inflation is inflation for everybody. How do we protect our senior population? To an extent, be considerate on how we tax them and what incentive we put out there to support them. So this, among many others, Medicaid expansion, the state of Wisconsin, we have a lot of money sitting at the federal government level to expand Medicaid so our senior citizens and poor people can have access to healthcare coverage. So these are top priorities. In terms of young people, immigration, and immigration is a federal thing. But as an immigrant, I'm always looking at things also with an immigrant eye, and put it into context that way. If I win, I'll continue my advocacy to make sure that the state of Wisconsin continue to connect with the African continent. Before I was elected, the state of Wisconsin became a state in 1848. But until when I was elected, there had never been a trade mission in Africa. So when I was elected, I started changing that. We have been on a foreign investment mission in Africa in October of last year. So the idea is to do a trade mission in Africa and sub-Saharan Africa, not the Africa where almost every American know how to invest, not the South Africa of Africa, not the Kenya of Africa, but the sub-Saharan Africa of Africa is where I really want to reach out, create opportunities. What that does is if American business owners can invest in Africa, and Africans also interested in investing in Africa, in America, can invest in America, then we create opportunities not only for young people in the United States or in the state of Wisconsin, but for young people across the globe, particularly African America. And so that's what my advocacy is going to be on if I am elected as a representative or as a senator
If you win, and that's something that we all are praying for you, because it will be very historic. You will be the first Gambian immigrant to win an election to a state senate, which is going to be unprecedented. And I'm sure with all the hard work you are doing, hopefully you will make it to the state senate. Coming to that, you have also established city relationship between Madison, where you live, with Kanifing municipality. How will this relationship go should somebody win election, or even if you don't win, God forbid? How do you intend to make this relationship between Kanifing and Madison useful for both cities and countries?
Yeah, so I think structure and sustainability has always been very important to me. And if you look at, in many cases, in the countries that we came from, sustainability is a problem. Me and you probably grew up in the Jawara era. There's nothing that you see now in Gambia that came from the Jawara era. Everything is gone. So no sustainability. So the sister city is set up to sustain itself with or without Samba. And I have disconnected myself from it a long time ago. So it's the sister city board here that is running it. And then the Madison are the Kanifing side who are running it. So with or without winning, the sister city will continue to do what they are doing. They have their own board. I'm not a part of it. And so that board is responsible.
But you play a very instrumental role trying to connect these two cities, so you are still very important in terms of this relationship.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it is really, really important. But again, I'll continue to play that role. That role has nothing to do with whether or not I'm an elected official or not. It's just me as a human being wanting to make sure that I play my part in terms of contributing to society. The Gambia is my native country. The opportunity it gave me is why I am where I am today. So I'll never forget that. I hold myself accountable to making not only the Gambia a better place, but the whole African continent, including here also the United States, to be a better place as a human being. That is part of my responsibility. And so we'll continue to do that. And I know I have good relationship, good connections, win or no win. Those relationships, I think, will continue. And I will be able to do whatever is needed to strengthen this relationship, not only at the city level, but possibly at the state level, and to a certain extent, even at the federal level. I only hope and wish that there's a good process to work with the Gambian government to an extent leverage some of the opportunities that we have, that we can create through an elected official. I keep telling people, Sam was just as ordinary as any other person, but the office I hold is not that ordinary. It's extraordinary. It's an office that was created by the American system to serve their people. It comes with powers that always remain there. And so when you occupy the office, those are the powers that are delegated to you. It's not you as a person. And so don't get high on power just because of those powers that are delegated to you. But use those powers and responsibilities to service humanity the best you can. But once I'm out there today, I do not have those powers. Those powers stay in the office. And so let's leverage it, while we can, and make sure that we make good out of it.
Samba, you were the first Muslim, assembly member in Wisconsin State Assembly, and then we have seen the Hamas-Israel war raging since October, almost 10, 11 months now. And when this war started, a lot of people, experts say this is going to affect the democratic election. It's going to change the dynamics. And I have seen you have issued a statement when the war started. How concerned are you? How concerned are you about the plight of Palestinians and the Israel-Gaza war that is still going on? Is this going to influence any of your campaign messages or campaign?
So the situation in Israel and in many parts of the world is very unfortunate. We shouldn't be killing each other over these arguments. As human beings, we are capable enough to sit down at the table and deal with these very difficult and crucial issues. But sometimes politics, take over all those responsibilities and common sense things to do. So the situation is very unfortunate. No person should be killed for any reason. And so to have over 30 some people be killed just in the name of trying to get to peace, it's unimaginable. But also it is unimaginable just for a set of people to get up one morning and go and kill a set of other people who has nothing to do with anything. So it's a very unfortunate situation. But what I also tell people, the world has a lot of challenges. And so that's why we need to elect serious people who will sit and sit at the table and deal with these very difficult issues and really talk about them and find a way to solve them. Not only in Israel and Palestine. Look at what is happening in Sudan. People killing each other for no good reason. Look at what is happening in Ukraine. A country
in Congo.
So all these things are problems that can be resolved if we are just serious politicians and serious policy makers and people who are not just capitalizing on our divide to thrive. And I think to a very high extent that has a role to play in some of the conflicts that you have around the globe, whether that is the Palestinian Israelite issues, whether that is the Sudan issue, or whether that is the Russia and Ukraine issue. So I don't know, but I think every issue will play in this election. And so I made my statement. I'm very clear. I'm not a dramatic person. I'm a pragmatic person. I will not use any opportunity, particularly opportunity that has to deal with a life or death, to promote my self-political interests. So my interest is for people to sit down and talk about these issues and find a way to resolve them. It's not to just make statement and make myself 5-minute fame or something like that.
Thank you very much for those joining us. This is the final take with me, Seni Marena, live from our virtual studios in Seattle. Talking to me is Representative Samba Balde, who is representing the Wisconsin State Assembly in Madison. Samba is running for the State Senate District 16, and we wish him good luck. So if you're a Gambian in Madison, go out in your large number and vote for your representative, Samba Balde. Samba, finally, before I let you go, what's your message to the immigrant community in Madison and Wisconsin ahead of these crucial elections?
So what I would say is that, look, in many cases, in fact, in most cases, as immigrants, we are very successful individually. What we have not been able to do is a cumulative success, the greater good success as a community. Building a community is important. So I would say one way to do that is really to come together. We are not a monolithic society again. We will disagree, but we must look at the big picture. So in terms of this election and any other election around where you live or whatever election you are interested in, find a way to participate. If you live in Madison, Wisconsin, I'm very appreciative and thankful to the immigrant community particularly, but to everybody who's been a part of my political career, I am very thankful. I would say to those who live in the Madison, Wisconsin area, to find a way to participate. We have only 4 weeks to go before the election. We are recruiting people to go knock doors. We have yard sign that we can put at your yard so that people will see the name Samba and know that he's a Democrat running for Senate. Pick up a yard sign, but sign up to volunteer. Even if it is just 1 hour, you go and knock the doors of your neighbors and tell them, look, a friend, a family, somebody I came from the same country, but just somebody who identifies with me in terms of policies is running. I would like you to vote for him. Those are the things that I'm looking. If you're on Facebook, share this information that you see. I am out there letting people know what is happening. Pick up something and share it. Let's amplify the message. Let's make sure that every voter knows who we are and make an informed decision come August 13th.
Thank you very much. That's Representative Samba Balde, Wisconsin State Assembly member and 2024 Senate District 16 aspirant, taking us through his campaign promise ahead of the much anticipated U.S. Senate election. Thank you for joining us, Honorable Samba Balde.
Thank you, Mr. Maren. I appreciate the opportunity, but also appreciate your support. This is the second or third time we've interacted and you've done some stories. So I'm very appreciative. So this is one way one can also contribute. Hopefully there are people out there who are listening and people who are out there who will react positively after this conversation. So thank you for everything. Keep doing what you are doing. This work also is not easy, but we are all called in this world to serve humanity. And so however we do that, let's keep doing it. So thank you.
Good luck. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Those viewing us anywhere you are, it's 12 p.m. here in Seattle and 7 p.m. in Banjul and 3 p.m. in New York and DC. This is Seni Marina with me, the final take. Do enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you and bye-bye.